Today I found what could be the best reaction video in the world. This is Lamont, and he made a video reacting to this one by a creator called Illis about how to learn Norwegian. Both of these videos are packed with incredible language learning tips, both practical,
listen to Norwegian as much as possible,
and unexpected.
The reality is going to be that you suck for a very, very long time.
So today I want to talk about some of my favourite tips from the video in my own weird way, by attempting to make the best reaction to the best reaction video, reacting to the best language learning video in the world ever. Quick sidebar. While I was watching Lamont's video, I heard him say this.
Okej, llegamos esto una última vez.
I don't know what it means, but it sounded cool, so I decided to turn it into a song.
Okej, llegamos esto una última vez. Okej, llegamos esto una última vez.
Anyway, I bet you're wondering,
why am I talking about someone else's video? Because it doesn't matter what language we're talking about, the insights shared here are invaluable.
Right. As I continue to watch the video, literally every single tip could be applied to my French studies, even though the original video was about learning Norwegian.
When I started learning Norwegian, my goal was to speak Norwegian like a native Norwegian.
Same for French, obviously.
I do remember a time where I was like, I want to speak Swedish to this level, and then like watching movies in Swedish and being like, I literally have no idea what they're saying.
I still feel like this now. And I've been learning French on and off since 2014.
The reality is going to be that you suck for a very, very long time.
What I thought was, okay, what I'm gonna do first is that I'm gonna listen to Norwegian as much as possible. So
listen as much as possible to whatever language you're learning. Although this sounds like the most basic advice you could ever hear, I think what stops people in their tracks is the discomfort of doing that at first.
Okay, this might sound like basic advice, but how many people prioritize listening skills? Not me, for a long time. You know what I did prioritize? Learning frequency lists. I think when we first start learning a new language, we think to ourselves, oh yeah, just learn more words and we'll be fluent in no time. But I had to learn the hard way that no, that doesn't work. What has helped me is thinking about language learning not as one skill, but as 4 separate skills, which can get better or worse, completely independent of each other. Reading, writing, listening, speaking. So if I want to improve my listening comprehension, I have to allocate dedicated time to improving that skill. It's not just going to improve magically from memorizing a few words.
what I did was hearing, for example, the same book over and over again. And sometimes my mom, she tells me, like, when you were a kid, you knew one book by heart. You just like turned the pages, you knew exactly when the pages had to be turned.
So I've recently been rediscovering the power of repetition. After seeing another one of Lamont's videos about him watching Spider-Verse like a bajillion times, I decided to give it a try myself with Peppa Pig. Because my French brain is roughly 9 years old. The more I watched the same thing over and over again, the more I was innately understanding and the less I was translating in my head, which is another massive problem that I have, which I'll get into in another video.
And now back to the video that I was editing that was already about someone else's video about Norwegian. So it's like Inception if it were about Norwegian. So it's like insomnia.
I got a lot of questions on Instagram about how to remember vocabulary, how to learn new words, how to like know how to use the vocabulary that you learn.
The relationship between memory, like memorizing things, and learning a language is more complex than people realize. I don't think you really need to spend too long thinking about where memory comes into play, but you do need to understand that you're going to need to hear the language a lot, which she's already explained she was doing. So I think the how did you manage to remember words? Well, she didn't really need to remember them. She heard Norwegian a lot. After you hear Norwegian enough, memory isn't really an issue.
I used to spend so much time trying to figure out how to memorize words. I do not stress myself about it anymore. Words and phrases become more memorable when they're meaningful or when they're useful in your daily life. There's a great book called Fluent Forever, which goes into a lot more depth. I highly recommend you check it out. You won't regret it. Also, watch these videos next if you haven't already, because there's so many more tips that I haven't been able to cover in this video. Anyway, thanks for watching. À la prochaine. Bye.
Que llegamos esto una última vez. Que llegamos esto una última vez.